Hi guys, it's Shell, Sunbury Housewives. Welcome back to another video. If you're new to our channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Hit the subscribe button to see future videos. In today's video, I am bringing you the tumbler that I previously stripped. So what I'm doing is starting with this 30-ounce fatty, and I'm turning it into a Hello Spring tumbler. So I'm starting out with this piece of vinyl. I got this from Hobby Lobby a while back, and it's removable vinyl, but I'm starting it and I'm cutting it down to, I think it's 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches wide. This tumbler, in the process of making it, went through several different changes, but I started out and I made lines on my tumbler. I'm showing here, started with a straight line, so I had made sure that my lines were straight. And I take a piece of tape so that I make sure that when I go to wrap this vinyl around, that it's perfectly straight. And when it wraps around, I'm not swaying off, of course. I want this in the middle of my tumbler. This is pretty much the focal point of the tumbler. Originally, I was going to have, this is the center stripe, which it still is, but then I was going to have several other stripes. I ended up just doing 2 other stripes. So yeah, but what I'm doing here is just I'm taking the edge of my vinyl and lining it up with that the painter's tape, and then I'm going to wrap it around to make sure that it lines up absolutely perfect. And once it does, then I'm going to remove the backing of the vinyl. My gosh, I cannot speak. And then just taking my thumbs and wrapping it all the way around just to make sure there's no air bubbles. And then I'm going to remove the tape and lay the rest of it down. I'm thinking here, obviously, like, what am I doing? And then I will use my nail to crease it, lay the painter's tape down over it, and then I'm going to take my Exacto knife and carefully cut along that line to be able to remove the leftover vinyl to create a very perfectly straight line, and then remove the tape. So then I'm doing a little bit of a cheat method because I did not want to have to paint at all. So I'm taking, I'm measuring here because I wanted to measure exact from the top to the middle vinyl. And then I'm taking a light pink vinyl, and then I'm going to cut, I believe it was 3 inches. And because again, I did not want to paint, I'm going to wrap this vinyl around the top. So I go ahead and do the same. I just line it up, and then I wrap it around to make sure that it does line up. And then I will take my hand and just smooth it out, removing the backing, and then take my knife and carefully cut along that line. And then once I get that done, I will remove any excess vinyl, and then I will go ahead and clean up any overlapping that there might be. And then any stainless that might be showing isn't going to matter because I will put lines of vinyl all the way around once it's all done. So then the bottom half, I measure again, but the bottom, I do want it to kind of go over the bottom a little bit to wrap at the bottom. So on this bottom portion, I do want to go about 4 inches. So I'm using a darker pink, and so, like I said, I want to cut about 4 inches. So I do take this darker pink and cut 4 inches. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Line it up and lay the first part down and just triple check to make sure that it lines up, and then start removing the back of the vinyl and smoothing it out. Now the bottom gave me a little bit of struggle because of the overhang, and there is just a slight curve where the bottom is. And so I did have to remove it a little bit and smooth it out. But I ended up making it work. But I did struggle just a tiny bit, but nothing that couldn't be fixed. So I did just smooth out, and any bubbles that there might be, I just took my knife and poked a little hole. No big deal. And then there was a little something that got on my vinyl, so I just took my Exacto knife and moved that off. And once I got that all smoothed out, I went ahead and started trimming away the excess. Now to address the bottom. This particular vinyl, it didn't have as much give as a lot of some stretchy vinyls do, so I just got my heat gun. This gave it the give that I needed it to. It stretched it, and I was able just to pull it and stretch it to be able to curve over that bottom. So I just pulled it as much as I could, and then would heat it up when I necessarily to be able to smooth it over that bottom. So once I got it to where I wanted, I went ahead and cut off around the little lip of the bottom and cut away the excess vinyl that I didn't need. And then I took Mod Podge and completely went over the entire tumbler with Mod Podge. Once that was done, I used ice from the glitter guy and went over the entire tumbler. Ice is a completely transparent glitter. It's a hack that a lot of us use to be able to go over so you can still see the design underneath it. Then I gave this tumbler 2 complete coats of epoxy once that was dry. And of course cleaned up my mess. But then once the epoxy was cured, I was left with this. I sanded everything, and I cut out the same vinyl to put on the bottom of my tumbler so you could cover up all that nastiness, so I could have a pretty bottom. That was not fun to apply. So what did I do? I just kept messing with it, and then I got my heat gun on to smooth it out. So now I'm going to go ahead and weed out the offset to the word. This just says hello spring. This is a SVG that I created. It'll be for purchase in my online store, www.heartofitallcc.com. Description is it's in the description box below. Anyway, this is just on white vinyl, and yeah. So this one was super easy to weed, and it's hard to see, but it's there, I promise. And then I cut out the actual words in this really pretty darker teal vinyl. Gosh, I cannot speak. I don't know if you can hear my grandson in the background. I made him go play in his room while I did this, and he's in there yelling, and it's completely distracting me. So anyway, watch me weed out the words as I struggle. And I started to weed out the flowers, and I thought, nope, I know these need to be a reverse weed. So that's what I did. So I went ahead and went to layer the words. Got my squeegee, and I hate layering words, first of all, but this transfer tape came with a pack of vinyl. Hate it. It was sticking to everything, so I went ahead and tried to layer the words separately, and it was this transfer tape was staticky, so it just kept sticking to everything. So yeah, I really struggled with this, and just watch me struggle. I'm just glad you can't hear me speaking in real time with this. And it's only a voiceover. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I go to, here you go, see? It just clung right to the tumbler. Yeah, it's, it was a struggle bus for me. I did not have a good time with this. It just kept, the static on this transfer tape was unbelievable, but I made it work. But I go ahead and put this on to the tumbler right in the middle and lay it down. And when I tell you this was an absolute pain, it was an absolute pain, but I made it work. So I lay it down, and I had to do this kind of in sections so that I could get it to lay down, because half of it was folding under itself, which you can't really see because where my finger was laying, but like where the S and the P are, kept wanting to cling to itself. So I ended up having to remove part of the P and then lay it down and then pull up the transfer tape. Yeah, it was a big old mess. But like I said, I got it to work, and I pull up part of where the flower's going to go and set it back down, and ended up working fine. But yeah, so now I go ahead to reverse weed the flower. Well, part of the flower came up, so it's on my finger, and I just pull up the outer part of the flower, and here we go, and then weed the rest of it out, and it leaves just the part of the flower. Some of it came up with it, and I just pulled that out and then set it back down right onto the transfer tape. And then I'm able to, please ignore my grandson, he's not listening, lay it down onto the transfer tape, so then I can lay it onto the offset. And you'll see that here in just a second. So finally, I was able to get it and lay it down onto the offset. I thought, yeah, that one piece did not want to stick. Here's where I went wrong. When I laid it down onto the transfer tape, you'll see here in a second, because it sticks to my finger. I laid it down on backwards. So I just laid it on there. This entire tumbler, from stripping it to doing it, gave me issues. Yeah, it was great. So here's the other flower. This one went so much smoother. So now I'm just weeding out the innards of it. Please ignore my grandson, please, please. I'm trying to so hard. And then laying the other flower, burnishing it down, and perfect. Now I'm laying the strips down, and I went right over to the other part because I'm going to cut it out. Line it up to the other side, cut off the excess. And then to the other side, I thought, there we go. And I am just leaving the line in one side and just letting the tumbler rotate and do most of the work. And cut off the other side. And then I had decided also to kind of finish up at the top too, instead of leaving it kind of a raw looking up at the top. I wanted it to have more of a finished look. So I decided to go ahead and put a strip of the vinyl up at the top as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut around the offset where I went over it. And down at the bottom as well. So once I get that done, I put it back on my turner, give it 2 final coats, and this tumbler is done. So I just clean it up, make sure I get any excess epoxy off the rim, clean the inside of anything that might have gotten in there, and yeah, so then I just finish it up. So I'm so happy with how this tumbler turned out, and it gave me my struggles, it really did, but I absolutely love how it turned out. And here it is. I absolutely love how it turned out. And if you want this tumbler, it is now available for purchase on my website. Check the description box below. If you love this video, give it a great big thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. And happy spring! Bye, guys.